Alright, so here it is, part 3 to What If Female Deku was Betty. So, I didn't really get much for the ship for the series, so I don't know if I did remember if I did choose one. But if I didn't, I only saw one suggestion for the ship in the first part, which was Bakugo. So that's going to be the ship for this What If. Also, thank you to, hold on, give me a minute. Alright, thank you to Christian White, who helped me with the soul colors, because I was a complete idiot and didn't remember the soul colors. So, thank you. Also, I'm going to retcon what I said, his soul being integrity. I'll just put it as integrity because of, like, the hair color, not his personality. So I'm retconning it. His soul color is going to be justice. Alright, so let's get back to What If. So, if I remember correctly, we left off after they'd finished their exam. No, not the exam, their hero versus villains practice. Then, now we'll get on to the USG. With as they head to the USG, Sue asks what's Betty's quirk. As Betty would say that her quirk is called fear and hate. She actually has two. She says that she has two quirks, fear and hate. Whereas she says that her quirk fear basically allows her to produce somebody's greatest fear or worst nightmare or fearful memories. Sorry about that. As I was saying, she basically can instill fear or a fearful memory into someone. Actually, no, she uses the fear and fearful memory from someone. And she can also amplify it with her hate, which she can gain from either herself or from people around her. And due to the villainous properties of her quirk, she was hated quite a lot by other people. So she's basically as she would say, that I'm basically overflowing with it. As she would explain it as like a glass. You begin to pour hate into it. And it's fine. And it's like fine, but over time, the hate becomes more and more overwhelming as it eventually begins to overflow, and there's barely any way for you to contain it. So you begin to, as she just stops herself right there, and she says, well, let's get off that topic. With everybody else being weirded out that she just stopped in the middle of an explanation. With Uraraka, who's sitting right next to her, tapping her on the shoulder, as she whispers, "Are you alright?" With her saying, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just getting harder and harder to control it." Now she's still in her fused. She is currently in her split form, so Kumu is out. As she's saying, Kumu's getting a bit agitated with the amount of fear, with the amount of hatred. So I'm going to have to expel it all in the USG. As Uraraka would say, okay, I understand. With them arriving at the USG, with the Pro Hero number 13 being there, as 13 would explain that quirks can be dangerous, and if they're not used properly, as Kirishima would say, wow, you guys even have fake villains? With Aizawa looking down, as he would say, those aren't fake villains, those are real villains. Third, he'd protect the children. As Aizawa would leap down to battle with the villains, with Betty going into her fused state. As she would take out her spear, as she would be waiting. As Kurogiri would get away from Aizawa, as he would head up to where the students are, as he would separate them, all with Betty going into the middle of where the USJ is, which is where Aizawa is, with her being surrounded by a bunch of villains, as she is about to fight them, she suddenly ends up collapsing and coughing up a black liquid. As Betty she's saying to herself, no, not now, not now. As she would be attacked by multiple villains, as they would basically just kick her about and attack her with their quirks. As she's still coughing up this black liquid, as Shigaraki would see this, as he would say to himself, there is our target. Nomu, get her. As the Nomu would charge towards Betty, as it would grab her, as Betty would begin to start panicking, as she hears a voice in the back, as she then goes into her mindscape with a black silhouette in there, as its mouth, where the mouth is, sort of like has the jagged teeth, and it's just glowing pink along with the eyes, as it then speaks. You're afraid to use me, aren't you? You're afraid you'll hurt people. As they would begin to walk towards her, as they would say, come on, use me, use me, use me, use me. As Betty would say, alright, let's go ahead. As her mindscape is consumed with this darkness, with this hate, as in the real world, Betty's sclera goes black, as her eyes would begin to glow pink, as a jagged smile would come up from her mouth, as she would say, tough luck, no, you beast. As her hand would turn into a blade, as it would slice right through the Nomu's arm, which would cause her to fall, with the hate getting bigger and bigger, as the Nomu would punch her as she would bring up a barrier which stops it, with her saying to the Nomu, what's wrong? I thought you were stronger than this. As she would take her spear, as the Nomu's soul would come up, with it being a white one, with it like being a monster soul, as she would say, oh, so you're made from a monster then. I guess that you'll be a special prize then. With her stabbing the Nomu with her spear, and the soul would come out on the other end. Now everybody else can't see the soul, so they think Betty just stabbed the Nomu for no reason, especially since it was regenerating its arm. But Betty then takes the soul out of the Nomu, as the Nobu would then collapse and begin to crumble to dust as Shigaraki would begin to scratch his neck, saying, "No, no, you cheated, you cheated, you cheated." As Shigaraki and Kurogiri can see souls. Well, they see that Betty is currently holding the Nomu's soul. As Betty then, as some of the members of Class 1A can't see souls as well. So like Aizawa, Uraraka, and Bakugo can see souls. With Betty bringing the Nomu's soul closer and closer to her mouth, as she would say, bottoms up, as she would lift the soul up, tilting her head up, opening her mouth, as she would just drop the soul in there, as the soul is being drained of its magic. With Shigaraki charging towards Betty. Now, I think Shigaraki's soul would probably be hate. I think hate and determination. Because my reasoning behind it is because he hates All Might and he is determined to kill him. As Shigaraki would dash towards Betty, as just before he can get a pink what appears to be a dragon skull would appear out of nowhere, as it then should appear to about to fire a laser before Kurogiri warps Shigaraki back to him. As Kurogiri would say, "Shigaraki, we have lost. We must retreat now." As Shigaraki would say, "Fine, but this isn't over." As Shigaraki would disappear, Betty would basically collapse onto her knees as she would begin to start spewing this black liquid. With Uraraka seeing this, and with most of the villains being defeated, Uraraka would begin to run down there as Betty was still spewing out this black liquid. As Uraraka would basically hug Betty, saying that it's okay, and that she is here. She doesn't need to be angry or afraid. As Betty would begin to revert back to her normal state, as she would begin to start weeping into Uraraka's shoulder, as she would say that she was so scared. She was afraid that she was going to hurt someone again. As Uraraka would say, "It's okay. I promise you, remember? I won't let that happen ever again." As Betty would continue to start weeping. And that is where I'm going to end this series end this part off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.